Hello, it's Chiyu here from iHeartUmami.com. I make Asian-inspired paleo, whole30, and keto cuisine. Today, I'm gonna show you what is this one. This is a Chinese dish called egg tofu, but it has no soy at all. So in other words, it could be also a savory egg custard. Let's get started. And I forgot to mention that what you're gonna do with this savory egg custard, you can pan fry it and you can bake them to crispy. And in the end, I'm gonna show you how we're gonna turn that into a crispy sesame tofu, paleo and whole30 friendly. So here are all the ingredients you need to make a Chinese egg custard, aka egg tofu. Eggs, an oven-safe container. You can use a glass one or a ceramic one, light coconut milk, and a whisk. So here are all different containers that I've tried to put inside of my 6-quart Instant Pot. So for a 6-quart Instant Pot, you want to find a container that's no wider than I recommend, under 6.5 inch wide. So you can just complete, the container actually can sit inside of the pot. So this is a square one. It's about 5.5 by 5.5 inch. So it's a square shape. I have also tried this rectangular shape one. So the side had a bigger surface than the square one. So this one is about 6.5 inch wide. And you can also use canning. I know some of you like canning too, so just find a wide mouth mason jar. One other thing I also want to mention that the different shape, thickness, and size of the container will affect your cook time. It will be slightly different. For example, the rectangular shape one is more shallow. The surface is wider. So therefore, your custard actually will get cooked much faster than, say this square shape one or this mason jar, because the surface is much smaller and the density just so happens it's a little bit thicker too. So you can find more information in the recipe section. So I'm gonna crack 4 large eggs. You can also use 3 eggs if it just so happen that your container size is a little bit smaller. So 4 eggs, we're gonna add 1 cup of light coconut milk. If for 3 eggs, the milk quantity will be about 2/3 cups. We're gonna season about 1/8 teaspoon, of course, salt, and just gently whisk your eggs with the salt for about, I would say, 2 to 3 minutes. Just gently whisk them. You don't want to over whisk them too much or create a lot of air bubbles, because that will affect the consistency and texture of your custard. And please don't use an electric mixer. Just use your hand. Very simple. And then I'm gonna add, for 4 eggs, I'm gonna add 1 cup of light coconut milk. You can also use the full-fat coconut milk. It will be the same quantity. They both works. Just the full-fat one will give you a much stronger coconut flavor. So that just depends on your preference. But if you use a light one, I feel like the flavor is more neutral, and later on we can use that for a lot of more dishes. After we add in the milk, just gently whisk again for about 2 minutes. Just make sure the egg and eggs are incorporated well. Now, before we add the egg mixture in, I selected today where I want to use the square one because it looks more like a tofu shape. But I want to emphasize that you can use any other shape you want. For example, the round shape one should be very popular, and then it will fit more easily into your Instant Pot. So you can also use a metal one. So as long as it's heat-proof, oven-safe, that will be safe inside of your pressure cooker. And now we're gonna grease the container so the eggs will be easier to come out later on. So here I'm gonna find the neutral flavor oil, and that's avocado oil with 1/2 teaspoon. We're just gonna grease our container. So make sure you get to all corners and also the side of the wall, just like that. And now we're gonna have the custard goes through a fine sieve, so just so that I catch any things that didn't incorporate well. Maybe you have some kind of eggshells in there. You don't want this. You just want to keep the custard as smooth as possible. Nice. And try not to shake the container too much because you don't want to introduce air bubble in there. See? Smooth. And if you notice some air bubbles, you can just use a spoon or back of a spoon, kind of just, smooth out a little bit. Now we're going to cover our custard. Otherwise, the steamed water actually will drip onto your custard. It's going to ruin the texture. So I'm going to just lightly cover it with a parchment paper like that. And then we're going to secure that with a foil. So this way, the foil won't be in touch of your food. And just be very careful. Don't press too much. Otherwise, you don't want your parchment paper to touch your custard. Now secure it really well. You can see that it's pretty tight. And this is a previous one that I made, so you can see the inside. So it's a parchment paper and it's secured by aluminum foil. So now we're gonna put it in the Instant Pot. To a 6-quart of Instant Pot, we're gonna put 1 cup of water inside the pot. So I'm gonna put a trivet inside the pot so I can put the custard on top of it. Now there's 1 cup of water inside a trivet and also your custard on top of it. One thing I want to mention that if you use a Corningware that comes with a glass lid that's oven safe, I would just use that glass lid. If you use a wide mouth mason jar, I would just use a lid to loosely secure it. This will be perfect. So now you lock the lid and then secure the valve. Now we're gonna press menu and we're gonna adjust the pressure from high to low pressure, and I'm gonna adjust the time to 20. That's it. So once it's done cooking, let it natural release for about 15 minutes before you quick release. And carefully try not to get any more water in there. And wait until it's slightly cooler and just take it out. And then I'm gonna unwrap this. Carefully, you don't want any water on the surface drop into your custard, okay? Look at that. Voila! It's still pretty hot and it's warm. It's gorgeous, delicious. It's done. Let the natural pressure release and then wait until a little bit cooler and take it out. And carefully open, don't let any water go in there. Look at that. Gorgeous. You can enjoy this egg custard hot, warm, or if you want, let cool, store in the fridge and then become a cold custard. There are many different toppings and different ways you can enjoy this savory egg custard. You can just enjoy simply directly alone for a healthy breakfast, or add a little bit chopped scallions, for example, and then you can use any dressing you want. This is my Thai no peanut sauce, or you can just use coconut aminos with a little bit toasted sesame oil for a more Chinese flavor. All right, I can't wait. I need to dig in and eat. Woohoo! Look at that. Gorgeous texture. So this is Chinese egg custard, egg tofu. It's so good. If you make them in a mason jar, it becomes a portable breakfast to go. And I made them in a square shaped container because I wanted to look like almost like a tofu shape. So in the next video, which will be coming up very quickly, I will show you how to bake them and make a lovely paleo and healthy friendly sesame sauce. And we're gonna make crispy sesame egg tofu. Stay tuned.